We're excited to play again. I know Missouri was on a COVID pause, but guessing they'll be ready to go. They're a hard-playing group. They're obviously a little bit different than last year. That's one of the gyms we have not won in since I've been here. We've lost 2 years in a row at Missouri. Reminded our guys of that. We only had 2 losses in the SEC last year, and they were one of them. I think that's because they played hard. I mean, we didn't play hard enough to win there last year. So we've been on our guys about their effort. This is a game, shows our maturity. Are we going to come ready to play with the effort that's needed to win a game like this? The last time we had 2 big wins was Gonzaga, Houston, and then we came in on a road game and didn't play well, didn't have the effort we needed to win at Memphis. So we just had 2 quality wins to start SEC play out. One of them being on the road at Florida, and then obviously the home game against Tennessee. And so how are we going to answer after these 2 wins? Are we going to come out with the energy that deserves a win on the road at Missouri or not? So we've challenged our guys to show some maturity, show some growth. Let's see where we've come since that Memphis game, and see if we can do a little bit better job playing on the road. So that's what we've been challenging our guys to do. As far as what we needed to work on ourselves, the Florida game, we did a great job not turning the ball over. I thought we got slowed down too much. We tried to work on our pace a little bit, tried to work on some execution. I thought our defense was really good in the second half, so we've been talking about trying to get a 40-minute effort, not a 20-minute. Let's try to come out of the gate in the first 4-8 minutes like we came out of the gate in the second half against Florida. So we'll see where we're at. Now Missouri does offer some different challenges. They don't play a true center, so the matchups are going to be a little tougher. Charles is going to have to guard on the perimeter a little bit more, which he's not used to doing. We're going to, maybe one of those deals where, Noah, Keon have to give us some real good minutes, but we'd like to see Charles do a little bit better job guarding on the perimeter. They've got their leading scorer is a kid from Alabama. So, can we do a little bit better job on Kobe? What's our matchup look like on him? Do we go bigger, smaller wing? So we've got some questions that we're going to have to answer and see who wants to guard during the game once we get going in the game too.
Thank you, Coach. We'll go ahead and get started here. Go ahead, Mike Rodak, start us off.
Just how much are you paying attention to net rankings and quadrants and that sort of thing this time of year, both for yourself and maybe for opponents too?
You know what? A little bit, just because I've got a tendency towards math and numbers and analytics. So I'm somewhat aware of them. I mean, to be honest with you, as a coach, the biggest thing I can do is focus on what it takes to win the next game. And that's where I'm spending 99% of my focus. But I think, we watch basketball. I'm a basketball fan. I've got SportsCenter and SEC Now and whatever on, and they bring stuff up like that. I think I know we've got the number 1 net opponent net rank. It's like basically strength of schedule in the net rankings. I think we're maybe one of 2 teams that hasn't played a quad 4 game this year, if I remember correct. I think it's Prairie View A&M and us, and obviously Prairie View A&M going into conference, they're going to get one. So, based on you would hope playing in the SEC, you wouldn't have a conference game be a quad 4 game, but we may, it'd be a home game obviously, but right now we don't have a quad 4 game. So I think quad 1 and 2 wins, I think maybe we're tied with somebody else in quad 1 wins and lead the country by ourselves in quad 1 and 2 wins. So, our wins have been good. It's our 3 losses that are kind of haunting us right now. We've got some real quality wins. Which again, that scares you about this Missouri game. We've had 3 games that we've lost that we were favored in, should have won, were a better team in, and didn't come with the energy needed to win the game. Iona's a good team, well coached, good talent, but we should have won that game. Memphis was coming off a 4-game losing streak, tons of talent. playing with their back against the wall and played a lot harder than we did. And then, obviously the Davidson game, they're a well-coached team with a lot of good shooters, but we feel like in all those games, if we got a rematch, we'd win the game. Well, you only get one shot at these things. So, I do pay attention to some of the net stuff. I don't know where we're currently at right now in the net, but I know like our strength of schedule, all that stuff's pretty high.
Joey Blackwell, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Quanzo Martin talked just about an hour ago about the difficulties of coming back and practicing and preparing after a COVID pause. I know you guys haven't had any yet so far, but hopefully you won't have any. But I was just wondering, what are the difficulties in practicing shorthanded and getting prepared for a game, and additionally, like practicing after a long pause like they've had?
Yeah, you know what? We haven't had to deal with that so much. I think our medical people have done an unbelievable job, between Clark and then everybody that helps him and oversees him. I think our players have done a great job, and we've just been fortunate. Sometimes you're just unlucky, so we have not had a COVID pause. So I can't totally answer the question on what it would be like coming back off one. I've talked to other coaches that have done it. You obviously, it's shorter now. Back when it was 10 days, you got to kind of ramp back up. After 5 days, just get a little bit of a ramp up, and guys can definitely get a little bit out of shape after 5 days. So, if we were going to have to do it, my thought process would be to go, one, we got to get back in shape. Can't overdo it and kill them right out of it, but you got to gradually, over a few days, build them back up. And then two is you got to get your skill level back. Like I was a high school coach, and we had Christmas break. We had 4 days off over Christmas, so that'd be the most similar thing I could come up with. Bring them back, you go really hard, just try to work on us, not really focus on the opponent at all on day one. Then kind of day two, get to the opponent and start working on some of that stuff. But, I got a lot of respect for Quanzo. I think he's done a good job everywhere he's been. So I'm sure he's got a good plan. I haven't had to go through it. Hopefully we can continue to be fortunate enough to where we don't have a COVID pause. And even last year, we didn't miss a game. The only game that got switched around was due to Houston's COVID pause, and we were able to find one this year. Colorado State got put on pause, and we were able to find a game to replace them quickly. So we're going to continue to do what we do. Have our guys be careful. Mask up when we're close. We do all our video sessions. We've got a great video room that we don't use anymore because we do all the video on the floor and space everybody 6 feet apart from each other just to try to avoid as many situations as we possibly can.
Let's go next to Joe Gaither.
Coach JD didn't score on Wednesday night, but still had 4 assists and 2 rebounds. In what ways does he affect the team when he's or impact the team when he's not scoring? And what's your message to him as a freshman, keeping him engaged into the program, maybe when he has a night where he's not impacting, putting the ball in the hoop?
Didn't he make 2 free throws?
Oh,
yeah, I thought.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. 0 for 3 from the floor. I apologize. You're right.
Okay, so he scored. But, yeah, he didn't score as much as we'd like to see him scoring. So I talked to him yesterday. So one is I think the 8 turnovers against Tennessee had him a little bit scared. Going into the game, I talked to him like, hey, let's try to keep our turnovers down to, 2 or fewer. And he goes, Coach, I'm going to have 0. In hindsight, I probably should have told him, like, we're not shooting for 0 necessarily, like, because I think him trying to have 0 turnovers took away some of his aggression, and we want him to play super aggressive. He ended up the game with only 1 turnover. So there's a good balance between being super aggressive and attacking and not being reckless with the ball too. And I think he's got to find that balance as a freshman. We want him playing aggressive, downhill, attacking when the opportunities are there. He needs to attack, but he's got to be smart. He's got to take care of the ball. So the pendulum swings one way or the other. We have 8 turnovers. We swing it way over here where we are shooting for 0 turnovers and our aggressiveness isn't where it needs to be. Like, let's settle down somewhere in the middle where, maybe we have 2 turnovers, but we're super aggressive and make a lot of plays too. So I'm not looking for perfection out of him. You're not, if he's trying to play perfect with no turnovers, I think he's going to play way too passive. So let's be aggressive. Let's play smart. We're going to try to put him in situations where he can be aggressive, put him in situations where he can get into the flow of the game. But he's a really talented kid with a great attitude that's working really hard. That, you know, in some of the biggest games we've had, I thought he's been pretty good. I thought, you know, the Gonzaga win, he was huge. The Houston win, he had the tip dunk to win the game and the block, you know, right after to seal the game. So, you know, we need him playing well. He's been in at the end of close games. I think he's going to make clutch free throws for us. I think he's a guy that's got the ability to be one of our better defenders, and he's working at it. So we're just going to keep working with him, keep his confidence up where it needs to be, and keep him playing aggressive.
All right, Katie Wyndham, go ahead.
Coach, you've been talking a lot about, defensive intensity lately, and we've seen in the NBA Herb Jones' success he's had right away, a lot of it due to the defensive end. Is that something you've been pointing your team towards, kind of Herb's early success in the NBA, mainly because of his defense?
Yeah, we've referred to Herb, frequently. He's a guy that everybody on this team knows. Most of them played last year with him, or if they're new, they were here or watched our games and were here on recruiting trips and met Herb. It's ironic you asked that now. Against Florida, we went back and showed an edit of last year's Florida game just to see what we did well, what we didn't. And Herb was in a lot of the clips. Herb made a lot of defensive mistakes against Florida last year. My point to the guys was like, Herb, you see Herb getting beat on a blow-by. Herb, he made some mistakes. The difference is Herb keeps playing really hard and makes up for those mistakes. Like, we're not asking you to be perfect. And it happened today in practice. JD gets beat on a blow-by. He keeps playing really hard, sprints back, gets a deflection off, this guy beat him on a blow-by, deflects it off his knee. We get the turnover, we get a stop. Herb made a lot of those plays. Herb's not perfect in the game in the NBA either. I mean, he makes mistakes, he gets beat. He just keeps playing really hard, and his effort, his sense of urgency, and again, he's got a high IQ, so he's not making a ton of mental mistakes, but you're going to get beat. I mean, he's playing against the best players. Donovan Mitchell dropped him the other night. Well, if you look at the comments after the game, Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley both were talking about how good of a defender Herb is. I mean, there's no perfect games on offense or defense either. Just keep playing really hard. Have a locked-in mentality, have a sense of urgency about getting stops, and, be super active. That's what we're trying to get JD to do. Keon Ellis is getting back to doing that, but Herb's the best I've seen at it. I mean, makes a mistake, covers up, gets a block. Makes a mistake, covers up, gets a steal. His teammate makes a mistake, he covers for him. He's just tough. He puts his nose in there. But I think, if they had a defensive player of the year for a rookie, I think Herb probably gets it. His defense is keeping him on the floor, and he's going to be in the conversation for first-team all-rookie team in the NBA this year. So he's playing well. We don't want to talk about last year's team a ton because we got a new team, but I think we can learn from last year's team and from players that these guys are familiar with.
Okay, final question will be from Dave Matter of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch.
Hey, Nate, speaking of last year, you mentioned the motivation factor, but is it hard to take away a lot from that game in Columbia just because Gonzo's team has turned over so much and there's just only really two pieces left from that team?
It's hard to take away, obviously, any personnel clips or most of them, but I think what you can take away from the game, what we've tried to take away from the game with our guys, is a mentality. Like going into the game, first off, we're 0-2 since I've been at Alabama, at Missouri. Okay? It's the only place we're 0-2 at. All right. The other thing is we were a better team than Missouri, in the standings, in the conference at the time we played them. And they played super hard and deserved to win the game because for 34 minutes of that game, they outplayed us. Now, we almost made up for it in the last 6 minutes, but we were down 22, I believe, with 6 minutes to go, if I remember right. So the effort that we played with for the last 6 minutes needed to be there in the first half. The effort that we played with in the second half against Florida needed to be there in the first half. So can we learn last year's Missouri game, the last game we just played, some other games? Yeah, I think a mentality, an overall arching theme of effort for 40 minutes, mentality for 40 minutes you can learn from. Now, what they're running, some stuff similar. They've got new stuff they're running. Personnel's much different. We got to look at this year's film from that. And now, they're even making changes now. They playing a different guy at the point guard, started 3 out of the last 5. They're trying to figure themselves out. You know, he's a really good coach that's always got his teams to play hard. You know, is he going to figure out the right lineup, the whatever it is, you know, in time for us? I mean, I don't know. We don't know what they're going to do. They're coming off a COVID pause. I'm sure that Coach Martin's had plenty of time to, you know, he didn't coach the last game. You know, he's been out. His mind's been spinning. I'm sure there's going to be changes while he's been out, and we're going to have to make adjustments in the game to the changes he's made.